I want us to remember what today is and what it isn't. Most people confuse Veterans Day and Memorial Day, and I'm a firm believer you can do both on both days. But it is absolutely critical that we remember that today is about those who have died in the line of duty. For many of you that are older than 60, you're going to remember Decoration Day. And I remember Decoration Day, where you would actually go out. It was very much connected to the Civil War. But since then, as it's morphed, our American culture has turned it into the first day of opening cottages weekend, and picnics. And where there's goodness about that, there's tremendous cost. In the last year, and I'm not sure everybody knows this, but we're still actively in the second longest conflict in the United States, Operation Inherent Resolve. It does not get the press the way that other conflicts have. 104 people have died in the last few years. In the last few months, most of them have been baseline duties in Kuwait, in Jordan. That's important to me because my future daughter-in-law was just in Jordan. Those 104 represent people who have cared deeply about our nation. But to give you an idea, these are kids. Terre Haute, Austin, Largo. We've had kids from Illinois die in the last couple years. So what we're about today is a combination of grieving and remembering and giving thanks. Oh, and just in case we don't think it's that big a number, in the last 10 years, it's been 7,000. Get that number in your head. 7,000 people have died in the line of duty. Will you pray with me? Holy God, we pray this day, first for the families of those who have died. This day is not a day of picnic. It may be a day of decoration, but it is a somber day. It's a day of what could have been and futures that are not, that we might have a future that is. It is a gift today that we can be outside, and most of us are vaccinated and able to be without a mask today. But we have people that have died of COVID in the line of duty. We have had people that are struggling right now in borders in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and Syria. We have men and women who care deeply about our nation just as much as in its formation. And I pray this day that we will not just simply remember, but we will recommit ourselves to the highest ideals of what makes for true democracy. Participation, knowing our neighbors, tearing down fences that divide, creating understanding, teaching and loving our children, helping them be responsible. God, help us do all of these things so that what they have sacrificed for will come to life in us. Be now with us by your nurturing and loving presence, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and let everybody in attendance say, Amen.
Welcome, everybody. Memorial Day for me, not to sound repetitive, is a day to remember those who were programmed differently than I. Jesus said that there is no greater love than laying his life down for a friend, to physically and mentally sacrifice themselves. To lead with courage, knowing there's great chances of not coming home or being severely wounded. I wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't for these men and women. I never served my country. I love my country. I'm proud of my country, but I have never served my country. And this is one of the few regrets that haunt me today. I always think of the second verse of America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country love and mercy more than life. They loved their country more than they loved themselves. They were afraid, no doubt. How could you not be afraid? Just thinking of storming Normandy or being in the middle of nowhere in Vietnam, Korea. They pushed forward, always putting others before themselves. This is what they do. This is what Memorial Day means to me. Thank you to all that have served and are serving, and especially to those who have given all of themselves so I could have the luxury of speaking to you here today. Thanks to those who invited me to represent the Village of Westchester, the VFW, American Legion, Park District officials, Westchester elected officials, and any outside elected officials. Thank you to the police and fire departments. Thanks to all veterans that are in attendance and recognize their service to our country. Memorial Day is the day that's set aside to remember with gratitude and pride all those who served and died for our country and our freedom. Let's not remember how these brave soldiers died, but how they lived. May your Memorial Day be filled with memories and peace, and thank you all, especially to our veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. District 92 and a half, Brian Vogel, are you here?
I am thankful that I have this opportunity to represent the Westchester Public Schools as we take part in this Memorial Day ceremony. I would like to acknowledge the presence today of school board members. And today we have Mrs. Mary Piniesiak here as well. I would also like to acknowledge our superintendent, Mr. Phil Salemi, is here. And finally, indicative of our amazing students, presenting the wreath with me today are 4 students from our Westchester Middle School: Taylor Bayman, Talia Becker, Leo Joswiak, and Desiree Mullen. Thank you to all of you for being here. Today we wish to remember, honor, and salute those men and women who served our great nation in one of the armed forces, and especially to salute those who gave up their lives to support and protect our nation and the freedoms we have. I can't pretend to know what it is like to lose a loved one for such a cause, but I can certainly have respect and admiration for those that have given their lives for our country and our freedoms. And while today is a day of remembrance, it goes without saying that every day is a day that our fallen should not be forgotten. Even one loss is a loss too many. To those we have lost, your selflessness will not be forgotten and will not go in vain. You will continue to inspire and educate. You are a big part of why people like me feel a need to actively participate in and defend our community and institutions. Our children, our students, need to understand the cost of the freedoms and liberties we have, and the community events like this help to do that. To conclude, on this Memorial Day, may we all remember the sacrifices of those that serve, but especially remember those who died for this great country. May God bless America. Thank you.
Is there a representative from the library here?
Hi, my name is Attorney Demetrius Evans Foster, and I'm representing the Westchester Library Board. I am the president of that board, and I have served for 2 years. It has been such an honor to be a part of this community. My husband and my 2 girls have been Westchester community members for 15 years. As I was thinking about what I would say to you today, I knew that there would be people much wiser than me that would come before me. And I knew that they would talk about things that I would want to talk about. So I went to the library and I did some research on this day. And as I was researching, I found two arguments. I found that Memorial Day, I was looking for when did it start? What is it really about, right? I've heard things, but I wanted to research for myself. So I found two arguments. One was that during the Civil War, there was an African platoon, an all-African platoon, that fought for freedom in the Civil War. This is like 1865. And then there was another argument, and this one captured my attention, as you can imagine. And so I followed it, and then what happened was they were fighting for freedom, and then we had different wars where we were fighting for freedoms. So in my mind, something said, is freedom the same, or are we talking about different freedoms? So I went to a birthday party last night, and there were people from all different walks of life. It was just fascinating. My friend is turning 70, and she's just a wonderful person. And so I tried out this theory. I said, is freedom the same? I told them what I learned, and some people talked about what it meant to them. And what they said, what everybody said to me is that freedom is the same. Freedom is universal. Freedom is a truth that never changes. And so I thought, okay, what else can I learn? So at the library, as you can imagine, with all of our new research tools, I dug a little deeper, and I found something from Dr. Martin Luther King. And Dr. Martin Luther King talked about he had seen Egypt, and he had crossed over the Jordan, and he had been to Greece and seen the Colosseum. He had been to Italy, and I don't know if this was in his mind, but he had been to the mountaintop. So that mountaintop that he talked about, he said, he asked God, I've done all of this. I've seen your glory. I can go on now. And so when I thought about the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day, which is really different. Veterans Day, we celebrate everybody. This is what I researched, but I mean, please do the research on your own. But Memorial Day is for those who have actually not come back. Not come back. And when I thought about my grandfather who fought in World War II, and I thought about my uncle and my dad who fought in Vietnam, and I thought about my friends and my colleagues who fought in in Iraq. And there are other wars but they've been a part of me. So when I thought about them, I said, they came back. They came back. So for those, in honor of those who didn't come back, I'd like to teach you the salute. I don't know if you know the salute. I know people know the salute, but if everybody could stand, if you could. And I just want to teach you this because I think it's very important on Memorial Day. So put your things down, at least for your right hand, and just think about what it really means. What it really means. Freedom, whatever it means to you. It's universal. It's the truth. Okay, I hope I get it right. Can somebody lead me who really knows? You all? Will you lead? I know that you really know. Yes, yes, ma'am. Everybody do it. Everybody do it. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America. God bless Westchester.
Thank you. Chamber of Commerce.
On behalf of Laura Catronville Garace and the Chamber of Commerce, just an image. I spoke with a member this last week whose child lives in one of our very southern nations. Two nations right now, the military is being used to literally go into businesses and close them down and take them over. That's not the nature of our country at all. Our country believes in the right of people to try to start things and own things and employ people. So on behalf of our chamber, we give thanks for people who have not just protected freedom, but the freedom to create and have businesses and employ people. Thank you.
American Legion, Sherby, Ed, or Jim, grab a wreath, please. Troop 1, Boy Scouts, Troop 1.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Lumsden, Assistant Scoutmaster of Troop 1. It's my honor to be here today. It's also my honor to acknowledge and understand what our freedoms are about. The Boy Scout Troop 1 and also, I should say, Boy Scout Troop 73 and also PAC 73 have been affiliated with Westchester for a long time. As a Troop 1, Boy Scouts, when we were formed about 6 years ago, we went to the Brody Post of Westchester to ask both the men and women of that post if they would have the honor to sponsor us. Because in Boy Scouts, we can't be chartered as a non-for-profit unless we have a charter sponsor, which they graciously decided to. I almost want to come to tears because they stepped forward with no hesitation to sponsor us when some other people would not. We want to say thank you for sponsoring us all this time. I view it as they stepped forward to protect the nation that we love and honor. And I view it as what we try to teach the young men and women in our troop about trust, honor, integrity. Those are some of the 12 parts of the Scout Oath that our boys, and I should say women now, take. And I should say, I'm not saying that's missing from our society today, but if you talk to them, they will tell you what trust, honor, integrity is. And we hope that the foundation that they build and lay is the foundation that they'll carry forward in their nation, irregardless of their race, their gender, or who they are. I can tell you this, in my time in scouting in Westchester, I've seen the young men and women of this community come together, work together to do service projects of all types to help all people, irregardless of who they are. And the reason why I mention this to you today is that that is the future of our nation. And I guess what I'm saying to you is, when I see the best ideals in our young men and women, not just if they choose to do military service, but more importantly, just be good citizens of our country, because we need to knock down more walls and build more bridges. If you want to know how that's done, just put faith in the future of them, because I could tell you it's an honor for them to see the examples of them, how they've led our country and our nation. And there's a term that I've come across recently that I find simply amazing. It's called self-service. Self-service meaning, irregardless of who I am or what I stand for, I'm going to put others first. And in the hope that we espouse and teach them, by putting that service first, we'll teach them more than they can ever know. I can tell you again, I've had the privilege to watch them on service projects, help elderly, help people who are homeless. Years ago, when we had some floods in Westchester, the scouting group was called upon to go door to door to not only deliver pamphlets to make sure that people were safe, but to check in on them. Again, many moments that we've done. So today, again, I would sincerely like to thank the Post for honoring us and sponsoring us, but more importantly, their service. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Cub Scout PAC 73 here.
I want to start with a quote, and this is from an English prime minister, but I think it applies just as well to American Memorial Day. And it goes, "Show me the manner in which a nation cares for its dead, and I will measure with mathematical exactness the tender sympathies of its people, their respect for the laws of the land, and their loyalty to high ideals." And that's what we're doing here today, is that we've come here to honor and to say thank you to those veterans, and especially those who have lost their lives fighting for this country, and to show the respect of our community and our country. We don't get to a place as a country or as a community alone. We do that based off of the sacrifices of those who serve. And without that, we don't have what we have here. So we want to say thank you to those who have served and came before us and won us our freedom and have maintained it for almost 250 years. And it's great that the Village of Westchester teaches this to the young people in our community through scouting, through events like this, through the assemblies that we have for Veterans Day at the schools, and also through other events like bringing the school kids to go see the Traveling Vietnam War Memorial when it was here a couple of years ago. And that's important because we're able to say thank you to those who we owe a debt to, but it also shows the kids in Westchester the kind of attitude and spirit that our veterans have. And that's the attitude and spirit of putting something greater before them and through the service that they have to our country. That sort of spirit of service and believing in something bigger than yourself is the kind of spirit that we want to try to foster, because that's what really does make this country great, and that's what makes communities like Westchester great too, is service. And so it's good that Westchester, we have this sort of Memorial Day ceremony and all the other ceremonies that we have here in Westchester, because we truly do owe a debt to those who came before us, and it is a way for us to try to express our gratitude and to say thank you. And thank you to all the veterans, and thank you especially to those who have lost their lives in service to this country. Thank you.
Now, the Westchester Park District, Steve Busa.
I have a lot to say because it's been 2 years. I got the short edition out, not the long one. Before I start my comments today, I would like to acknowledge my fellow park commissioners, Derek Gordon, and especially Stan Collegier, who is a Navy veteran and served in the Vietnam War. We gather on this solemn day of remembrance in memory of those who gave their lives so that we can freely gather in Mayfair Park today. From the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, the Iraq War, many, many other skirmishes and conflicts not classified as major wars, to training, drilling, other mishaps, accidents, and tragedies. Over 1.4 million of our fellow countrymen have given their lives for us, and that does not include any of those who died after the conflict because of service-related injuries or illnesses. So it's much greater, it's a much greater number. And we remember each and every one of them today on this Memorial Day. Now, I hope you can forgive me if some of my comments are perhaps better fit for a Veterans Day event. As Pastor Mills said, a lot of times people get the two events mixed up, and it's easy enough to do because the living, the veterans, are the ones who are around to tell the stories of those who lost their lives serving their country for all of us. But in all my years in attending this event, which dates back to the early 1980s when the event was held at the community center, and believe it or not, there were actually World War I veterans that were in attendance at that time. I always walked away from this event with profound respect for the brave men and women, you brave men and women, for what you have done and encountered in serving our country. Some of you will remember what I'm about to say, but from Reverend Knapp and his recounting of what he confronted on the beaches on D-Day, to the facts and figures that every year are provided to us by Reverend Mills, to the family story that was shared to us by former school board member Don Slager a couple of years ago. I have always left this event with a better understanding of what Memorial Day means. Now I want to ask a question. How many of you here, if you could raise your hand, how many of you here were alive in 1945? Can you raise your hand? Okay. It's a good number. So what I'm about to say was meant for last year's event, which unfortunately was canceled, as we all know, due to the virus. Last year was the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. According to the National World War II Museum, as of last September 30th, there were only 325,000 of over 16 million Americans who served in World War II that were still alive. And they have figured that approximately 300 of those are dying a day. If their numbers are correct, that means the living U.S. World War II vets are now down to 250 to 260,000. And again, if their numbers are correct, by the time we gather next Memorial Day, another 100,000 or so will be gone. So today, I would like to especially remember the 400,000 plus American servicemen that died during World War II. Their stories, their life stories, have lived on through their fellow servicemen whose ranks are thinning as we speak. And their stories need to live on by those here that were alive in 1945, that can share with us that weren't there what it was like when they came home, when the war ended, and what they were able to tell us about our fellow countrymen that died in that great war so that we can enjoy the freedoms we have today. But no matter how they died, whether it was in Europe or in the Pacific, they died, as well as all servicemen and all service women who have given their lives, to preserve our way of life and our freedoms, and that we can never forget. Our country's history is replete with stories of exceptional bravery and sacrifice. It is American exceptionalism which has allowed our country to grow and expand. And the American serviceman and the American servicewomen have stood watch continually for 245 years, ready to give their lives, as more than 1.4 million of their fellow servicemen and women have, so that we can enjoy freedoms that few others have in this world. So today, on this solemn day, before we go to a baseball game, or the shopping mall, or whatever else we have planned, let's take a moment and remember those who have gone before us by paying the ultimate sacrifice so that we can do all those wonderful things on a beautiful day in Westchester. Thank you.
American Legion, please step forward. Mr. David Simak will now play taps. That concludes our service for today. I want to thank you all for coming. There's coffee, donuts, I think juice on the table, so please help yourself. Thank you again.